the questions that I get asked often is how we discipline our kids. And I believe that that's something that's incredibly personal for each family, but I would like to share and not preach. I say share because I want to make this a Let's Talk video. So I would like you to share what you're comfortable with sharing as well in the comments. That way it can be a community of moms and dads just sharing what works for their family, and anybody who's looking for some guidance or who would like to maybe try something new can go through the comments and find some more information or just get some different ideas. So I would like to share two different things. One, I think John and I will just kind of speak in general about our beliefs and expectations in our home, but then I'll get more specific when it gets to discipline within our home school, because I think that there, at least for us, we felt like there needed to be a separation between our, discipline and structure to homeschool days versus our family time. And we just think that's only fair to the kids. So the first things first, John and I have kind of seen along our parenting journey here that a lot of discipline or even punishment would come from us feeling a lack of control. And so the first things first is that good structure, discipline, and avoiding consequence would really have to, for us, start with self-discipline for us as parents, and kind of emotionally removing ourselves from situations, and so that our kids learn natural consequence and not just, oh, I really ticked mom off kind of consequences.
Or embarrassed dad.
Or embarrassed dad. Are you thinking of something specific?
No, yeah, probably quite a few different situations, but yeah, let me just say too, our
all right, go for it.
Yeah, let me just say too, just like Abby said, we don't have the how-to book on discipline and raising our children, but as we yield to how God's working, our idea and beliefs about discipline has definitely developed, informed, and changed from when we were first-time parents up until now. Yeah.
So for us, of course, our goal as parents is to not just make our kids behave well for us like they're performing, but to learn the ropes of what would be appropriate behavior for life, so that when they leave our home, they're not just performing for us as parents, but they are the best that they can be, and have personal boundaries and know how to avoid natural consequence. Not avoiding the consequence because they've done something and they're hiding, but just how to generally spare themselves the extra hurt and pain that comes along with those inevitable natural consequences. So one of the things that John and I really abide by, is that the right word? One of the rules we live by is that structure and routine is very healthy for kids and for adults, and that helps us with our own self-control, but it also, when our kids know what's expected and they know what's next and there's no question about each individual situation, one, they feel very safe and generally don't have those epic reactions. They just, everything is peaceful and calm. And of course, not every situation in life is going to work out that way. And when you get to those sticky situations where someone woke up late or something's going wrong or someone's sick, you can give grace for that moment. But in general, as long as our kids know what's next and they are a part of that natural family rhythm and we are all kind of working together, in general, there's not a need for punishment, because it's just it's good flow. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think of specifically when my schedule changed. I worked overnights for the whole beginning of our marriage, for like 6-7 years, and when it was very difficult. Abby would wake up in the middle of the night, but it was very difficult to form sort of like a structure, for a healthy structure for our family. So when I switched to being more of a normal schedule, a daytime schedule.
Not everyone knows the situation. So for the first 8 years of our marriage, John
Right.
went to work at 4 in the morning and didn't come home until the kids were in bed, basically.
Right.
And so it's only been the last 2 years or so
Right.
that now we have a normal
Right.
type of schedule.
And the last 2 years, it took us a while to get into a rhythm because we were so used to waking up early that we finally got a chance to sleep and get some rest. And when we were waking
To learn a new rhythm, yeah.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is when we were waking up later, we had less control over the schedule, and it would send the day into a tailspin from the very beginning.
Oh yeah, when we would start to wake up
Yeah.
at the same time as the
And
kids.
then-
Yeah, we definitely had to come
Right,
to the
so
point where we were
structure-
waking up early again. Maybe we'll do a whole video on, eventually on the structure that
Yeah. Discipline.
works best for our family.
Di-
But yeah, it's an individual family thing, whatever. But for us, it definitely needed to be that we were up a decent amount of time before the kids,
Right,
so
this-
that we felt in control.
A healthy schedule will avoid having to deal with a lot of discipline, but it will also establish ground for you to lovingly lead in discipline.
Right,
You know what I'm
keyword
saying?
lovingly and not frantically. I think that's
Right.
there's 2 ways you can discipline, and that's just one way is out of love and seeing your kid as a whole person and their own person,
Mhm.
or out of frantic scramble for control and trying to get them to perform in the moment because it's annoying or stressing you out or you're angry or just parenting out of those emotions. But I said earlier that we try to remove ourselves emotionally from the situation, and one of the ways that we have kind of worked that into our lives is by reminding the kids that things are their choice. And that, I think, is so important to us because we don't want our kids to be 25 one day and be performing a certain way because we live in the same town and they don't want me to find out what they're doing or something.
Mhm.
We want them to know that if they do something, even as an adult, that they did by choice, that is now their punishment that they own. And so we're starting that now with our kids. So, for example, if I'm trying to think of a good example here. Someone hits someone and we have to then take away a privilege. So say it's a birthday party, because this actually did just happen. They were very excited about a birthday party and they got in a physical fight. And so we said, okay, well, we're not going to the party. And this is how we worded it to them. Mommy and Daddy really wanted to go to this party, which we totally don't love birthday parties, but they don't have to know that. So we really wanted to go to this party. We didn't want to take this away from you, but that was your choice. You made the choice to hit so-and-so, and so now you've made the choice to lose that. That's what we expect of you. We don't hit people in this family. Now you don't get the party. We didn't want to do that.
No, it hurt.
You made that choice.
Saying it to the child.
Yeah.
It hurt following through. But
Yeah.
it was a matter of not only respecting the child enough to discipline them in that manner, but also respecting us and not allowing them to take advantage of us even when
Right.
they did wrong.
Right, because it was something, an extra situation, like a birthday party. You don't come across those every day, but
Right.
it's still the expectations that we have, and they need to know that that's what happens when you do that. So that's basically just removing ourselves from the situation. Not like, I can't believe that you would hit. I cannot believe you would do this. I have raised you better than this. Haven't we taught you? No. You hit so-and-so. Your choice. We didn't want to. Your consequence. And so that way they learn from the get-go. It's not that we're being unfair. It's that they need to own the decisions that they're making.
Right.
And we do that even for our 3-year-old. We really, really do follow through with that. The other thing is, and I learned this from Kirk Martin, if you don't follow Celebrate Calm on Facebook, do that. We are huge fans of Kirk Martin in this house, and we have probably listened to his audio. Well, I could probably quote it word for word. You?
Yeah, it's really
Probably
good.
so. So one thing that he says that we really, really love is to put the intensity on the positive and not on the negative. So I don't necessarily believe that kids always behave a certain way just to get attention, but if we are putting all of the emphasis on the negative and not on the positive, what is motivating them toward the positive?
Mm-hmm.
So, another example, I should have come up with examples before we did this.
That's okay.
But it's, yeah, so like I was saying about the birthday party, it's very direct. Like, you did this, da-da-da, it wasn't rah-da-da-da-da.
Mm-hmm.
So then today, Jesse said, what did he say that I was really proud of him for? Oh, he has been climbing the counters, and we just redid our kitchen, and so the new cabinets are raised a lot higher, and we don't want him to climb the counters to get into the cups anymore like he used to. So it's actually becoming a thing where we're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because we keep coming around the corner and he's up on the counter. He keeps forgetting to ask us if we can get a cup for him. So today he came up and he said, may you please get a cup for me? I'm thirsty. And we were just like, oh my goodness, thank you for asking. I love the way you asked. It wasn't, yay, everybody come here, Jessica. It wasn't, it's nothing obnoxious, but it's just like, that's where we want to be giving our intensity, is toward the positive situations and not toward the negative. A lot of times I think we have 4 kids, so we're busy and our eyes are just darting around and we're tired. And a lot of times we don't even make eye contact except for the negative. And so we want our kids to remember those positive affirmations, I guess, when they're making the good decisions. And that not only helps them, of course, continue to make the good decisions, but that helps us recognize those more in them than we normally would have, and that changes our perspective on our kids. I think a lot of times when you're really tired and you're just worn out and you're weary, you see the negative a lot more than you would see the positive. So if you shift that perspective toward putting all of that intense energy into the positive, you'll see more of it naturally as the parent anyway, which helps the whole mood.
And it establishes trust between the child and the parent, to where when you do have something that you can lovingly lead them and correct them on, they will listen to you because they respect your opinion. I understand a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old, there's not going to be much respect. it's all about him. But you can earn their trust in a way of loving them and encouraging them in the good things. And I see it a lot in, we don't name kids, do we?
Well, everyone on YouTube knows our kids' names. I just didn't want to necessarily give negative situations with the kids' names.
You can, I've seen it a lot in Jesse and Bella, when you can seriously see their eyes light up when you touch their heart with kind, encouraging words, even if there's something that specifically they did wrong in that moment. That's like we talk about, is that still recording?
Yep. Yeah, because a lot of what they do, a lot of their negative behavior is shame-based. They're already shame-based. And so if we continue to shame them, even though they're probably reacting out of shame initially, it's not going to do anything to encourage them to behave differently.
And the way that your childhood growing up, the way that your kids are growing up, that's the kind of stuff, the experiences that they have, especially when it comes to things like discipline, it's stuff they're going to carry with them when they're older. So if we're constantly focused on everything that our older boy is doing wrong, he's going to start to believe that there's something wrong with him.
Or what's the point of even trying with it? I'm just
or feel like a failure.
Yeah.
So there's a healthy balance to it.
And you mentioned trust, and that was something that I wanted to talk about too. We both, it's very important to both of us that we're on the same page as far as expectations for our kids, because he's gone so often. And I know that a lot of you, if you homeschool, are probably in a similar situation where one parent works, one parent stays home. And so one parent sees more than the other parent sees. And there's a big struggle there with our kids knowing that we're united in our decisions and our expectations, even though they don't see him a lot. So it's important to us that we're on the same page about what our expectations are, but also that we understand that we can't respond to the kids in the same way, because say I can speak more sternly to the kids because I see them every day, all day. They see him maybe 45 minutes a day during the week. And so if he comes home and is just consistently stern with them, they aren't going to trust him as much, or they're going to be more tense around him, and that's not what we want. Now, that's not to say that all he does is, you know, he's happy all the time with them and just like the fun person, and then I'm the structured person. But I make it a point to mention his name a lot during the day if I'm disciplining. You know, well, I talked to Daddy and this is what we decided, and da-da-da-da-da. So it's not just like me disciplining and then he's all fun. It's a united front. And so he can't punish in the same way that I do necessarily, just because of the limited time. But our kids, however the punishment, and I even hate saying punishment because I don't really feel like our kids end up getting punished often, because they do know the expectations, and it just generally we generally avoid those situations. But it's not like every single day we're punishing, but there is just a difference in how we speak to them in those tense situations, because I don't want, and he doesn't want the kids to only see him in a negative light, and at the same time I don't want the kids to only see me being the stern one as well. So there definitely has to be some kind of common ground as parents that you come to, because if I'm flying off the handle and then he's super fun, or vice versa, it's just our kids definitely know that we have the same beliefs and the same expectations, and that's really important to us.
And that's you should do a whole video on structured schedule, you know. I mean, not as the answer for everything. Like I said, everybody's situation is different, but I feel for a while I felt like I had to be the fun dad, because we didn't have necessarily like a set, healthy, structured schedule when it came to from the time we woke up to when we got home in the evenings. That's why, again, having some kind of schedule is important, because I was able to come in and in the morning sort of prepare and lead the kids for the day, to where there was some respect shown toward me as not just as the fun dad.
So again, we've talked about, I'm going to go back here one more time to removing ourselves emotionally from the equation. And one of the things that I try to ask myself in those heated moments is, am I responding appropriately, or am I responding out of how this is making me feel? And something that really, really resonated with me was when I heard somebody say that we are just raising unpracticed people, unpracticed humans, and that's so true. A lot of times I would respond to them out of, you know, like, I cannot believe that they are behaving this way, because I didn't really step back and say, okay, this child is 5 years old. Is this an appropriate response for whatever they've just done? Or do I need to just lovingly guide them through this? Because we want our kids to, yes, understand natural consequence and delayed gratification, but I just don't want them behaving out of, what would my mom think of this? So, or what would my dad think of this? Or, you know, what's my mom gonna do if, kind of a thing. So, and because I don't want them to be hiding things, I don't want them to be behaving a certain way and not even knowing why they're behaving this way, but just knowing that mom says and dad says this is right and this is wrong. We want them to own as much of it as they can. So that being said, just like every family is different, and you can't take 100% of what we're saying and make it work for your family, because every family is different, so is every kid. And our three of our kids, who are, you know, individual personalities so far, none of them can necessarily be punished or disciplined in the same way. based on their perception of the world. Really, they're little and they all have their own unique traits and personalities, and one person will receive punishment a different way than another will, and I mean as far as like how they process it. One child, I can think specifically that if I were to yell, one child would be embarrassed. One child would be confused and automatically assume that I dislike them, and one child would just be annoyed. It's true, and you know exactly who I'm talking about.
100%.
And that's not the response I want from either of the three of them.
Right.
And so for one child, a good conversation highlights and speaks to the issue, and it doesn't need to go much further than that. For another child, it's physically removing them from a situation, allowing time to cool off, and then a conversation or loss of a privilege type of situation. Another child we actually have to take by the hand and physically be with, and do the proper redo everything together. It can't be, okay, well, let me go say sorry. We're walking together and we're saying sorry, or this isn't going to happen, and you know, we have to be with that person. So all of our kids have different perspectives and perceptions of, and it's just based on their life experience already as little kids. You know, they're all just unique and they all handle things differently. And so I don't even think that we could have one punishment across the board. But I will say what our kids do know is that we will follow through with what we say. And again, something that we learned from Kirk Martin is that if you say, if you pick your Legos up, the baby's gonna throw me off here. But if you don't pick your Legos up in the next 2 minutes, they're all going in the fire. You better throw those in the fire, or your kids aren't going to believe you the next time. And so
follow through.
Yeah, the follow through is so important. So appropriate expectations and definite follow through, or you're going to be battling that for a long, long time. So something else that I want to throw in here is that we talk often about, do our kids know who the parents are, and do we know who the kids are? So are we allowing them time to be kids just as much as we want them to know we're the parents, we're in charge, we're the adults, they need to respect us, blah, 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 blah. Are we respecting them as kids? Are we telling them just use inside voices all the time without giving them an opportunity to use their outside voices outside? Are we giving them time without us hovering over them? Are we letting them experience, even just as siblings, conflict without me resolving them and refereeing a situation? Are we allowing them to be kids? So as often as we want them to know we're the parents, we have to remember that they're the kids. So ultimately in our family, I know that the way that our kids will view themselves, that baby, in their relationship with the Lord will be heavily influenced by how we parented them. So do they know they're loved? Have they experienced grace and mercy? Or is it just a no-holds-barred, tit-for-tat situation? And that's not to say that every single time they have some kind of misbehavior, we're being like, oh, well, let me teach you about grace. I'll show you about grace. We'll let this slide. But do they know that the ultimate purpose of us punishing them or teaching them self-control or structure is because they're loved, or is it because we are full of wrath and anger? So I think that would be just a lot of us being able to get to a place, because we're not consistently in that place, but we notice that the best place for that to really be a loving and free-flowing experience for our kids is when we take it slow and steady, and our structure. So we're watching this video back and staring at Sean's half asleep face. Can you please tell people that it was your idea to be a part of this video and that I did not drag you into it?
I really wanted to be in it. I'm just so tired.
Yeah, it's after 10, guys. We're freaking tired over
Listen,
here.
right now we should be asleep on the couch.
That's our routine. That's part of our structure.
No, I had some things I wanted to say. So
You just don't want to have to listen to me.
Forgive me if you see me falling asleep through the rest of it. Abby had some really good points. It's just...
He'll find out what they were when he watches the video. Respected and really set as being very important and intentional for our kids. So that is how discipline, structure, routine all kind of works together in our home. And I'm going to actually stop this and restart the next video for homeschool. I think I want to make this a 2-part video, but I think I'm going to put them up on the same day. So anyway, so stick around, click the next video if you want to see how we discipline. More specifically, I have a little discipline jar here, just a little tease, in our homeschool.